then later in 2002, we then journeyed to another immersive fictional world, Treasure Planet. So Ron, can you tell us how this film came to be?
Yeah, unfortunately, no research trips. But actually, the project began with me as an adolescent. I was a big Disney animation fan, and I was a big science fiction fan. And I was always kind of thinking, wouldn't it be cool to put the two together if there was like a Disney animated feature that had robots and rocket ships, and so I got the idea, because I felt like it needed to be timeless in a way. So what if you took Robert Louis Stevenson's nautical adventure Treasure Island, but turned it into a science fiction fantasy? So then later in the fall of 1984, when Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg first came to Disney at the first Disney Gong Show, which was a brainstorming technique that Michael Eisner had as a way of coming up with new ideas for animated features. And if you got gone, it was over. Anyway, at that Gong Show, I pitched both The Little Mermaid and Treasure Island in Space, and they both got gone. but actually, The Little Mermaid got ungone just a few days later, and Treasure Island in Space got ungone while John Musker and I were making Aladdin.
Wow, a little movie called Aladdin. Okay. Wow. Thank you.
And everything. And the idea was that when we finished Mermaid, or when we finished Aladdin, our next project was going to be Treasure Planet. That would follow Aladdin. And we even did visual development while we were developing, while we were making Aladdin, while we were directing Aladdin. These are some alien designs from an artist named Rick Mackey, who loved designing aliens. I think he did like hundreds of drawings like these, and we could these just more aliens than you could ever imagine. Anyway, when we finished Treasure Planet, Jeffrey Katzenberg somehow had soured on, and when we finished Aladdin, Jeffrey Katzenberg had soured on the idea of doing Treasure Planet, which was a bummer for us, and it was also a bummer for the young writers Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, who worked with us on Aladdin, because they were really big pirate movie fans, and they really wanted to write the script for Treasure Planet. But it worked out fine for them because they went out to write the first three Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
That worked out.
Meanwhile, John Musker and I were still trying to get this going again. I think we have a slide here. This is a sort of block one sheet drawn by John Musker and painted by Andy Gaskell. Of like trying to sell this movie, and finally the studio decided that we actually could make the movie, but not as our next film. We had to do another movie first, so we did Hercules, and then Treasure Planet afterwards.
Wow.
You have to prove yourself really before you start thinking.
That is really incredible. I just love. Well, I mean, it's fun to sort of see the steampunk feel of the film. I love that feel. So I'd be curious to learn more about that influence in developing that look.
It was kind of steampunk before there was steampunk.
Yes.
It was very retro film. We always envisioned it as kind of a fusion of the past and the future. And really wanted to favor the past. We invented this rule we called the 70-30 rule, which we meant 70% like 17th century, 30% the future. So really, really favoring the past, as you can see in a lot of this artwork. And then following that, we sort of went for an oil painting style, which is deep canvas, now carried to a further extent. These are actual oil paintings done by Andy Gaskell and Dan Cooper, but oil paint takes forever to dry, and it doesn't smell very good, but we did digital oil paintings, so we solved that. And these all kind of lead to what the film actually kind of ended up looking like.
Isn't that incredible to sort of see? Really, the film's a hybrid of hand-drawn and 3D animation. So, like, to be able to sort of bring that together, I mean, that's pretty.
Yeah, it was a hybrid film, absolutely. There were most characters were hand drawn. The robot Ben was all digital. Silver was digital. Glenn Keane did the character animation of Silver, as you can see here, and then another animator did the cyborg part. So we actually was a fusion of hand drawn and that. And I have a clip here. I'm just going to show a clip of the virtual sets that were developed for the movie. They're getting canvas taken further. What this meant was we could actually move the camera throughout the set. This was a new innovation in terms of with an oil paint look at the background. So it's very subtle in these scenes in the galley, but you can kind of see how the camera is kind of following the characters around, even though they're hand drawn. And it's subliminal. But for an action film, it seemed like it really helped us. So the technology, it was actually a good thing that the film was probably delayed, because we had technology for this movie that we wouldn't have had if we had done it after a while. And as Don said, this was a film which was a little disappointing when it opened originally, but it has developed definitely an audience, a sort of cult audience for the film. And that's really gratifying, because so many people did such brilliant work on the movie, and it's good to see these movies sort of live on and have a life of their own.